Hello everyone, welcome to the Watchalong. Sorry for the delay on the commentary, only 15 minutes late. We had a few sync issues, but we are finally good to go. And, well, as you could probably see, there were sync issues. Just a quick update on the session so far. We had a lizard out on track for a little bit of time, but now I think we're good to go. As Aston Martin were the only ones to do runnings earlier on, now you can see most of the cars out on track. There are quite a few people actually still in on track right now. Will we see changes in the session from yesterday? Zingy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, Bottas just on a lap right now. He'll be the first one to set a representative lap, with the exception of the Aston Martins. That lizard on track, yeah, it was coming out of the last corner. Alonso had to go into the pit lane just to avoid it, so thankfully, during this session, no lizards were harmed, as we see Valtteri Bottas coming for the last few corners. The Cyber looking very rugged and very bumpy as he goes P1, but this is a track that's been notoriously bumpy, and teams like Red Bull and Mercedes, maybe not as a recent Mercedes, but beforehand, they did struggle here in 2022 and Red Bull in 2022 and 2023. Do you reckon with Red Bull not being as competitive, it will become even worse to the point where they can't even score points? Or do you reckon that they've actually finally fixed those issues that they had from Azerbaijan and Monza?
Yeah, this is a question that I had to ask yesterday. Obviously, it's only FP1 and FP2, so it's hard to say, but I don't think it would go as far as them not scoring points. I think they will definitely be within the top 8. Definitely. I reckon they can still be within the top 5, probably. At least one of the cars, if not both. And I think maybe those changes to Azerbaijan will help them. But yeah, it's going to be virtually impossible to tell until the later stages of this session. We'll all be doing qualifying simulation runs very close to the end, as it's a later session compared to previous years. It's much more in sync. Not in sync. It's closer to what the actual race will be, so the cars will be able to go a lot quicker than they maybe would have before, because they used to be a lot earlier in the day when they did their session. So we're going to get some more representative lap times compared to previous years, some better data for the drivers as well. We'll see how that goes in a bit. But yeah, Red Bull are in an interesting situation. Also, driver-wise, Max Verstappen having his little reprimand from the incident that he had. There's a very 50-50 side, depending on who you are, of course, on that view. Whether you are a fan or if you are an organizer, it's it could be a very different.
Must I ask what this incident was? Because I wasn't here, remember, for
So
FP1
on
and 2.
Thursday, Max Verstappen, and also if anybody watching doesn't know, Thursday, Max Verstappen did swear, said a word that I can't repeat on live stream. He said that in a press conference, and the FIA awarded him community service as punishment for that. So obviously not in the car swearing, but it was in a press conference. I hope that they don't start awarding punishments for swearing in the car, because that would be quite ridiculous. It's just not going to happen with adrenaline pumping. You can't stop it. But yeah, Max Verstappen gave some good points. Also on the other side, it's good points for the organisers. You know, you don't want that. You really need to try and stop it wherever you can. So I guess that's kind of trying to lead an example, but I haven't seen any other drivers see such severe punishments in recent times. So Max Verstappen maybe a bit vocal, and they're just not happy about it. But yeah, that's that for Red Bull. They're also looking at their junior team, Racing Bull, of course, with Daniel Ricciardo possibly looking his final F1 Grand Prix ever here in Singapore. Unless they can get it turned around, they might be alright. But it's going to be a very difficult one for the Australian driver. That being said, seemed really positive after yesterday, with Racing Bulls looking very quick and might even be quicker than Williams.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that Williams have been improving. If Racing Bulls are up there with Williams, they could score a handful of points because in the constructors, they are battling Haas for P6, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? P6.
I believe
I want to
so,
say
yes.
so. And Haas of Nico Hulkenberg. It's been mostly Nico Hulkenberg that's been doing all the work. With Kevin Magnussen, of course, helping by holding people up and compromising his own strategy. But the team are working very well. And speaking of Kevin Magnussen, this is the first time he's back since that race in Monza where he did get a one-race suspended ban. So hopefully he's back to 0 points, I'm sure, isn't he? So he should
Yes,
be.
he is. So he will be able to go full send for the rest of his career.
Oh,
Into the
and
final
with a
few
seat on the
races.
line.
Yeah, well, he doesn't really need to worry about anything unless the team decide to take him out the car themselves, but he can just go absolutely full send, and I'll be honest, I don't think he's going to get the Sauber seat. I think that will go to someone else. Why would they pick Kevin Magnussen over Valtteri Bottas if they're looking at either Valtteri Bottas or a junior driver? So yeah, unfortunately for Kevin Magnussen, it does look like this will be his final few races, but he can go full send, so it maybe wasn't the best idea from the FIA to do what they did, but it's done now, and Kevin Magnussen is going to be a demon on the circuit. I hope he goes full send, just to make the final a little bit fun, of course, because yeah, it's going to be a disappointing one to lose a race in your kind of final season that it's looking to be in Formula 1. They've got a lot of traffic for Kevin Magnussen as they eventually make their way through the other cars, and they should be good to go. But yeah, Stroll, Ocon, Alonso, all very close together right there.
Yeah, Kevin Magnussen just going for a lap right now. Only 2 tenths off in the first sector, which isn't too bad. I don't think these guys are doing push runs. Max Verstappen did look like he was pushing in that one lap, but I think he was just bringing the tyres in quite aggressively, which is what he does sometimes. And to note, Aaron, is there not a fourth DRS zone, I'm sure, for this weekend, if I'm not mistaken? I don't know where it would be. You got the first corner, you got one after four, you got down the back straight. I think it's towards the last corner, is it? The new
Sorry,
DRS zone is?
I've just got back. I don't know what you're saying.
Ah, okay. I was just discussing about the new DRS zone that I think's just
Yes.
before the last chicane, right?
Yes, it is. So last DRS, it's the kind of little straight, of course, where we got rid of the previous section of the circuit. So it does mean that now there'll be more overtaking opportunities, and we actually saw in the race last year the cars getting very close to one another at that stage, regardless of DRS being available or not. So I think we can definitely get some more overtakes, some good racing, and I don't think anybody's going to be safe, even though there's so many corners around this circuit. 4 DRS straights, 2 being good for overtakes, where the other 2 are kind of more just gaining time that may have been lost from dirty air and other parts of the circuit. This is probably going to be a pretty good race, with the cars being so close as we saw in Azerbaijan, unless the tyre degradation and the tyre temperatures are so crazy that McLaren just get that absolutely nailed with the car that they have and can run away with it. I think they're definitely going to be probably the car to beat. Or, sorry, it's going to be very close, I should say. As we move on with the session, we see Russell and Hamilton up to, well, now down to P5's Norris just goes fastest behind Verstappen, who is on exactly the same tyre but 4 tenths ahead. So Max and Perez, they're doing a very good job right now. Perez also, of course, in the top 3 at the moment. But as I wanted to quickly go back to was Russell and Hamilton. Russell, I don't think really had too many issues, just feeling okay with the car. It wasn't looking the quickest, but it again is just FP1 and FP2. But Hamilton was having an absolute nightmare. Did manage to get it kind of sort of solved a little bit later on and put some laps in, but throughout the majority of the afternoon, or the entire day really, just having traction problems and was super far down for a long time. So hopefully Hamilton can get that sorted for qualifying. He doesn't have long to do it now, 35 minutes on the clock. But yeah, that seemed to be making a bit of a switch. Ferrari looked very quick yesterday. So far, not really that far up there. But it is all different. And once again, I will say we're just going to wait for the final kind of 20 minutes of the session to see people start to go faster and faster. That's Carlos Sainz immediately taking words out of my mouth and going P2. Still 3.5 tenths behind Max Verstappen.
I am convinced there that Max has pushed on that lap a lot. I did see him like really pushing the car through the last sector and under the Anderson Bridge and through the hairpin and stuff like that. So I don't think Max Verstappen's times are at all representable. I
No,
reckon
it's
he
not.
is on pace with Sainz and Norris and Perez. Maybe a bit faster than Perez as Piastri goes up into P4. But yeah, my point is I think Max has pushed a bit hard in that one lap, so I don't think others should be worried. And we know that McLaren have a very good race car, we know Ferrari have a very good race car. And we know when it comes to crunch time that Red Bull around this track crumble. Will it be the same this year? I've gone back to it 2 or 3 times, yes, but you know, when you're in a championship fight with McLaren and you've got two class drivers, as opposed to Red Bull who have an amazing driver and someone who's inconsistent, it's really difficult. And I know the track that they struggle at, you really need to ask questions about whether they're going to do well or not.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can confirm that that is Max Verstappen's fastest lap of the entire weekend so far. But the fastest lap of the weekend so far was Lando Norris of a 30.727, Charles Leclerc of a 30.785, and then a 31.356 for Carlos Sainz. So still quite a way off. There's a long way to push right now. Russell goes P2, very close to Verstappen. But yeah, there's a lot of scope with the lap times right now. 30.7 is the one to beat. Will possibly go faster. That being said, the time is different, so I'm not sure if the cars are going to be in a peak performance and might not get such a good pace at the car, but we should be getting pretty close to those lap times as people will start to push more than ever. That being said, yesterday the cars were actually going pretty close to those walls and not leaving too much on the line. We had a few people going over the curbs, and I think Norris had to go into the pit lane to double check the damage once or twice. So yeah, that's currently the situation. We've got a lot of scope. We've got about 9 tenths in Verstappen's lap time until we get to the fastest lap time of Lando Norris.
Oh my goodness, Alex Albon's hit the wall. And you can see it there, the sparks coming off his car. I think he's actually punctured the front left tyre. He'll get back to the pits, no bother, but he's absolutely smacked the wall just before the last straight. Of course, it turns to the left a little bit, so you need to turn. But he's turned a bit too much, too prematurely, and that's his tyre gone. So it proves that he's lucky to get away with that, you know. Like, any more, that could have been his suspension broken, but Albon pushing it a bit too fast and a bit too hard, and that's what happens. You can really find the wall here if you're not careful.
Yeah, for sure. That's not going to be ideal for the Williams team. Of course, we saw the upgrades in the last few races. They've been able to do very well. I must be either blind or I can't see Alex Albon on the track right now. It tells me they were in the pit lane for a long time, but I believe... Wait, yeah, okay, that was a replay. Okay, that would explain a lot. Now, just to go back to that for a minute. Williams, they've had their upgrades, of course, and had the pace advantage, but Williams did say themselves that that's probably going to be, well, no, not probably, that will be their last big upgrade. There will be a few minor changes to the rest of the car later on in the season, but other than that, they'll be focusing on 2025. And then obviously January 1st, everybody will go straight to 26 cars. So they're going to get a few months of development for the 25 car at full pelt. Currently, they've only got a little bit of resource currently on this year's car, and there will only be refinements. So this is probably going to be it for Williams pace-wise. They've just got to try and hold on to what they can, score as many points, and because of that reason, I don't think they'll catch Haas, but never say never. It could definitely change.
When you've got Kevin Magnussen on your team, anything's possible. As we see Hamilton coming through the hairpit, he's been struggling this lap. You were mentioning about traction issues. I've seen him about 3 or 4 times this lap in a little mini box where it shows like the drivers. He's just sliding around everywhere. So maybe he has resolved some issues, but I mean, that Mercedes doesn't look good. And they haven't looked good for the last 2 races. Really, Monza, I don't remember them being anywhere, and then Baku, of course, it was Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren. Sorry, so Mercedes have fallen off a lot since those 2 wins they had at Silverstone and forgotten Silverstone and what, Aaron? Please remind
Austria
me.
and Belgium. They had
Austria and
obviously
Belgium, yeah.
the win that they picked up with George Russell, but on merit, Belgium, almost both cars, not quite. But Silverstone also was a very good job. They had to be there to win it, and they did. Obviously, Max Verstappen tried to come back later on, but he wasn't in the position, so it is what it is. But yeah, Mercedes had a great qualifying car in Italy, but when we got to Azerbaijan, they were kind of just there. They didn't really do anything special, and they did manage to pick up that podium. Obviously, Hamilton having their issues, so they weren't able to be so far up, but they did get some points in the end. A pretty decent recovery right then for there. But yeah, Mercedes have got a lot to try and figure out. They feel like it seems like Russell's getting on with the car a lot more compared to Hamilton.
Well,
that being said, he's just gone to an escape road, which is an interesting one. He seemed to go very slowly into the escape road, but spins the car around and is good to go, and they can carry on now. Just a few moments ago, Leclerc went fastest, a tenth ahead of Verstappen. Still, we are a long way away from the fastest session of the weekend so far.
Yeah, I love how you always say something positive about a driver, and then from 5 to 10 seconds later, something miserable happens. We can see here, replay, he just locks front right as he's turning into a right-hander, which is the worst thing you want to do. He flick spins it very nicely. It's like F1 22 all over again, and he does it very nicely, not getting in anyone's way. But yeah, Aaron, I think
he
you
went
should.
very slowly there. He didn't. I don't think he needed to go to that runner.
You say that, but when people put it in the wall, and then after they've committed to that corner, which they shouldn't have, then the question is, oh goodness me, Cole Pinto's almost hit the wall there. He had a bit of a snap. He's really pushing on this lap. He's really trying to prove himself. I mean, there's 2 seats left, so he could do it. We've talked about it last weekend. You can see him really pushing the limit. He's 500s off Leclerc in the middle sector. My goodness, he's really going for it.
Yeah, for sure. Can he get up to the top 2? If he loses 3 even, or maybe even 4, because they're very close actually within the top 4, just 2 tenths within each other. They go to P6 in the end, so don't quite get there. They lost a bit of time in that last sector compared to the other cars, but they still improved. They are on a scrub set of soft tyres, although that being said, scrub sets can be very quick around this circuit. They said that they can get bite. That's what they said. A lot more bite with the tyre if they're scrub. But anyway, that is P6. Lost a bit of time in that final sector, I guess, compared to the other cars. I will double check the sector times in a second. But yeah, that's Williams setting that fast run quite early on in the session.
Yeah, I'd like to note that the top 5 are separated by only 3 tenths, and I think Russell has a bit more time in that lap. And with qualifying predictions coming up, it's very, very close once again. It's been close for this whole season, really, with the exception of the start, where Max Verstappen was dominant, but ever since Imola and Miami, it has been so close. And I mean, we're still rounds to go. I've asked last week, and I will ask every week, Aaron, until you get sick of me. Man, that's actually Carl Sainz. But do you think Charles Leclerc has a chance of winning the championship?
That was another topic for yesterday. I think, I think it is very possible. I mean, I was even saying that it may even be possible for Oscar Piastri to win with the cars being as close as they were in Azerbaijan. If everything starts going that way again and again and again, anything can happen. And with circuits, or even just racing having crashes in it, we could see a few drivers be in big trouble if they make a few mistakes. Now, Max Verstappen on that end just basically needs to make sure that he doesn't crash, and he'll be fine. He doesn't really need to fight too many people. He just needs to let the other cars make mistakes, which they are making, and they're fighting each other, taking away points from each other. So right now, for the drivers at least, Max is absolutely fine. I'm going to be honest, I don't think he can do much about the team's championship with the situation that he's got. That is, I hate to say it on Checo, for having the kind of mid to start part of the season not being up to par when he did have the car to comfortably get those points. So it's a shame. Obviously, I can't really say too much because I don't know what problems he was having before. I'm not a Formula 1 driver, but that's definitely the situation that it looks like that they've put themselves in. Just to confirm, on Colapinto's lap time, so he was about a tenth behind all the other fastest sectors in Sector 1 and Sector 2, but he was 3/10 behind Charles Leclerc. Is it Charles Leclerc? No, Max Verstappen in Sector 3, so that's where they lost a lot of their time. However, Carlos Sainz has just gone and beat the fastest sector time. Still only a tenth off is Colapinto. Now, Carlos Sainz goes fastest. But yeah, so Colapinto is very, very quick. Just that final sector is getting to the Williams car.
Yeah, maybe on his lap specifically, we did see him push really hard in that middle sector. Maybe he just pushed the tyres too much, and because it's the middle of the daytime, and these guys are going to have most of their data focused on the nighttime when the race is, maybe he's just pushed too hard, he's overheated the tyres, and that's why he's lost so much time in the last sector. So, that Williams pace could actually be genuine, because if he comes into qualifying and does the same two first sectors there, he comes into the third one, his tyres are a couple of degrees lower temperature, and he can set a lap time which is up there. So I wouldn't discount Colapinto. He's very talented, and with a lap like that, I don't think he should be too disappointed.
Yeah, I'll be very happy with it. Still got a lot of time in the session for the qualifying runs, so they've just got to wait a little bit longer until they can get themselves sorted. Of course, I do apologise for the lag issues. I don't believe it will affect the audio, so I think everything will be absolutely fine to hear. I just believe it is having slight effects to the quality of the live stream. So I do apologise for the situation right now. I'm trying to come up with a fix, but I think we should be good to go, hopefully. And we'll just pray that nothing else happens, as we've only got a few minutes left of the session. But yeah, we've got 2,700 frames dropped over the last amount. It sounds bad. It's only 3.6% of the live stream. Still not great. But yeah, we should be good, and we haven't lost frames in the recent times. Anyway, back to Formula 1 once again. Leclerc and Sainz now lead the way. The two Ferraris looking very quick. As we were saying, Leclerc, could they win the championship? Possibly. The Ferraris are maybe going to be the fastest car. I believe that yesterday, the poll that was sent out by us on the YouTube channel, the Ferrari was voted to be the fastest car over the weekend. I'll just quickly double check that right now. And yes, 51% for McLaren, 48% for... 51% for Ferrari, 48% for McLaren, Mercedes 1%, Red Bull 0%. So people are expecting Ferrari and McLaren to be fighting back in the good old days, of course, but now it will be Ferrari that seem to have the advantage compared to Azerbaijan, where people thought the McLaren would be there. Looking at who will win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I meant to put pole, but I put win by accident. People are saying that Leclerc will win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix with Piastri P2, someone else with 17%, but then Sainz has got 2%, so people still believe that Sainz could win this race.
Yeah, I mean, Carlos wasn't actually that far. Well, he was with the front runners in Baku come the last few laps. He looked after his tyres, he brought his car in more, and with those guys fighting and being in that dirty air, he brought himself into play. Unfortunately, we all know what happened after that, but the point is, he's able to get up there and fight. So you can't discount anyone of, well, you can't, the thing is, you can't even discount anyone of the top, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes and McLaren, because they've all got quality drivers. And although giving Perez stick earlier on, like, in Baku, he done really well, and if he can replicate that this weekend around a track you must remember that he's won in before, and he absolutely loves, he's got every possibility to do well once again.
Yeah, I definitely. I think top 4 teams, top 8 drivers, it is all just about who can get the job done on the day. Of course, Lando Norris was distracted by a yellow flag, whether you can deem that his fault or a fault of the circuit. It's up to opinion. So they didn't get the job done there, of course. Lots of or drivers can make mistakes, of course, and yeah, maybe even penalties that will come their way in qualifying and put people at the back. I believe people won't be trying to take penalties around Singapore, though it would be a little bit of a silly one. Russell goes at 1.4 seconds. Leclerc is cooking in the chat, but no, George Russell has just gone and set the fastest lap of the session of the weekend so far with 30.1, and that is 0.6 ahead of the fastest time that was set by Lando Norris yesterday.
A Ferrari trying to get out of the way of Albon. He picked up the slipstream. The Ferrari, he didn't move to one side, but Albon's moved to the sides, trying to get past him. Then the Ferrari's moved that same way, so that could have been nasty. Speaking of Albon, up to the line, P2. But remember, he's on the soft tyre and probably low fuel, so I wouldn't take that into consideration that much. Piastri next. Well, those cars through the last corner, they can take that flat, right? I'm not sure, but
I'm not entirely sure. I'd assume so through quali. It's gonna require some hella confidence though. But yeah, in the race it will definitely be a lift, maybe even a downshift, unless they just hold it in a gear to make sure the speed doesn't go too far up. I'm not entirely sure, or maybe even just short shift, so they kind of take a little bit longer to get up the speed. But we'll see that as it goes into quali and through the weekend, of course, and we'll just have to listen to the engines and see if they do start lifting. 30.125, of course, as we already saw from Russell. Oscar Piastri has gone and set at 30.4, which is fastest than the fastest time that we saw yesterday. Hamilton, no, didn't go faster than the time we saw yesterday. Still gets up there now, is on that soft tyre. As I said, last 20 minutes of the session, we start to see people doing their quali runs. Alex Albon, although that was on a fast tyre, 31.1 is not that good, unfortunately.
getting a replay of Oscar Piastri here coming through. I want to say this is turn 4.
No worries.
As it looks as though he just runs the curb a little bit and losing the back end, but no, that's fine. He gets away with it. Max Verstappen done the same thing earlier on, but he rode all the way over it. As you can see, a very good save from Piastri there.
Yeah, Lando Norris did exactly the same thing, and that's why they had to have a double check for the damage, of course, on the side of the car, but also the floor. So I think maybe the damage on the floor was checked earlier on than on the side of the car was later on when they did make a little bit of contact with the wall. That is Lewis Hamilton complaining about something with the car. Hopefully we can get a replay of what they said in a few moments' time. But yeah, that's that situation done. I'm slightly lost of what I was saying, but anyway, Max Verstappen crosses the line to start their next time lap. As we will see Verstappen be on the fresh tyre, of course, looking to try and go as fast as they can. They've got 17 minutes on the clock. The risk that you run if you go later on, the advantage that you run if you go later on is that you will be a more kind of realistic situation time-wise for qualifying later on, but also the track will be more rubbered in. The risk that you run is that other cars will also be pushing for the time lapse at the end for the simulation or qualifying simulation runs, and if they start making mistakes because of that, then you'll get a red flag and you may not be able to get a final run in. So this is why these guys are probably going to be going a lot earlier on, unless they're going to try and use another fresh set of tyres, or even just go on the current tyre that they're doing and just set as many lap times as they can within this 18-minute kind of session, as you would see in a Q1 situation, of course. But Verstappen go for the corners. There's a little bit of skipping on the front tyres. Felt like they were kind of wrestling the front end. They're still going faster than they've done before, which is expected, of course. But they come around the final few corners. We'll see them set their lap time, their next lap time in the session, and it is going to be a P3 for now, 4 tenths behind Russell. Now, that's not something that he's going to be happy with. Franco Colapinto's ridden over a few curbs and then got a bit of a loose rear end as they go out of turn 3 to 4. But they keep it out of the barriers and they're good to go, and they will once again start another lap. Lando Norris is going purple in the first sector in the meantime, looking to set the pace, set the standard as they did yesterday. Oscar Piastri is not out right now. They're in the pit lane. Have they already set that lap? I believe they've already set that quick lap. Yes, they have. So Norris is currently competing on equal playing field against his teammate at the moment. Although they will actually have... No, they won't have one lap fresher tyres. It will be the same tyre. Piastri does have time to come out again, of course, immediately. We'll see. Now, George Russell says that he's surprised to see so many people out on the softs already. Also on the softs himself, which is an interesting comment. I think if you're having the big brain strategy of going on to a soft tyre, they are Formula 1 teams, they're probably going to be thinking about it as well. Not always, but they probably will be. Lando Norris goes fastest, 29.642. The first driver to reach the 29s now, so we were close to the 31s. We're in the high 30s yesterday. Now we're really pushing the limits, and just over 4.5 tenths from Russell. They really do have a nice advantage, and 7 tenths ahead of Piastri, who is in the pit lane and will be able to do another run very shortly. So do not think this is going to be the final positions on the track. We'll get Lance Stroll across the line to start a lap. We'll see Hamilton. Are they starting a lap? They're finishing a lap or doing a cool down lap. I'm not entirely sure. They've set that P5 time right now, 1.2 seconds behind Oscar Piastri. They will actually be starting another lap. We've got Colapinto, of course, making that mistake earlier on, but they've actually gone slowly again, but they're going into the pit lane this time. And we will see Tsunoda definitely being on a time lapse. So this is the next car to see to be representative. Of course, Colapinto and Albon set their laps a few moments ago. Now, RB, this is what we were looking at yesterday as they were being very, very confident and happy with the car. Ricciardo currently P10, but that's on that scrub medium tyre. So Yuki Tsunoda should be able to quite easily beat that lap time and get themselves, hopefully for their sake, into P6. As they come around the final few corners, what's it going to be? And it is going to be a P7. So they just split the Williams drivers right there by a very small margin ahead of actually Alex Albon at 3 thousandths of a second is the only difference. They are 1.25 tenths away from Colapinto, but there is Alonso immediately making that difference and going to P7. Stroll will cross the line as well in a minute to compare lap times with their teammate, as I believe Russell's going into the pit lane unless they're starting another lap. They are going again. Stroll goes across the line to set a competitive lap time. Well, will they be compared to their teammate in P7? They'll be P12 in the end. So that's a 2.0 gap between the pole time. And yeah, that's 6 tenths behind Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, well, that's not very convincing from RB being behind Colapinto. Especially Tsunoda. You would expect Tsunoda to be a bit more up there. Is that a case of the car, or is that the case of Colapinto just setting a better lap than what we initially thought? He's only a tenth off Hamilton, mind you. However, was that lap? I'm sure that lap was set on medium, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But there's a yellow flag actually. Hold on, sector 1. Don't know what it is though. I think it might just be a mistake. If they're not, yeah, okay, it's just a mistake. Someone's went off, but it's fine now. But yeah, as I was saying, not very convincing from the RB of Tsunoda not being ahead of both Williamses, which they kind of need to be, because with this many rounds to go and Williams, if they keep on scoring consistent points, they could be under threat. Haas could be under threat. A lot of people could be under threat from Williams at that bottom end of the table if they keep these performances up.
More importantly for Daniel Ricciardo, regardless of where the car is, he just needs to make sure that he is ahead of Yuki by a long shot if he wants to get in this car. Now, Helmut Marko has said Liam Lawson will be in one of the Red Bull Racing cars or RB cars next season. That is a big statement, because if Ricciardo does do a phenomenal job this weekend, then Sergio Perez will be losing their seat. I'll be honest, both drivers are kind of in a similar situation. Ricciardo's been more consistent, but hasn't had the stand-up performances. Obviously, he hasn't had the car to do it, but you've got to compare yourself against your teammate. So It is a bit difficult. Ricardo's done, I think it was a P5 in a sprint race or something, maybe, or was it even in the main race in Miami that was very, very quick and gained him a lot of points. But other than that, Yuki is 10 points ahead of him in the championship. I think that's about, is it 20, 22 and 12 points-wise. So yeah, he's got a lot of work to do right now to save his career. So is Sergio Perez. I really can't see Liam Lawson going into a RB though. I don't think they would bother risking it at this stage of the season. So it will, a Red Bull. So it will be a racing bull that I think that Liam Lawson will be going into next season. And then maybe in 26 they can get into that top team, of course, and see if they can compete with Max Verstappen, unless they find another driver in the meantime.
Liam's been very patient though, and I think with the performance he's put on when he replaced Ricardo, you remember at this very track, outqualifying Max Verstappen, and I'm sure he got in the points as well that race. So you must think that, is Liam a good driver for that seat? And considering he's shown it before, as we see Russell going off once again down in Escape Road, you must think, well, Liam's shown that he's able to put those good performances in, and if Daniel Ricciardo can't, what's the risk you're taking really if you're replacing Ricciardo? Because if someone can do a better job at him and you know it, is it really a risk?
No, it's not. I don't think. Well, he has had more time away from the sport, of course, but he will have done some racing now and again, of course. He does have somewhat experience in that car, in that team, of course, as well. So it'll be all fine. I think it would be kind of a clear-cut decision, and I think it is a little bit too late for Ricciardo, regardless of where he finishes. I think he has to finish P7, P6, and hope that Yuki finishes P10 or maybe lower. But say Ricciardo was to finish P1, I don't think that's gonna... I know it sounds a little bit ridiculous and a little bit backwards, but if you're in a racing bull and you're finishing P1, then that's kind of... it doesn't feel like it's on merit. Maybe it could be, you never know, but it doesn't feel like it will be on merit. And I think that wouldn't do Ricciardo's chances of holding his seat any good. So basically, he needs to look at the kind of top of the second half of the top 10 and just hope that Yuki Tsunoda finishes either a few positions or a bit of a distance back compared to his car.
Yeah, I mean, I think the decision's already been made. We know that F1 teams take weeks or months in advance making these decisions. Something's very badly gone wrong, and in that case you kind of do. But these teams are very professional with what they do, and they will, of course, make these decisions prior to all this. They know that Ricciardo's getting older, he's not getting any younger. They've seen the performances Liam Lawson's put in, and they've obviously thought about this for quite some time. And if Helmut Marko's stating, hey, Liam Lawson's going to be in one of our seats next season, and Yuki's already in a contract, it really just doesn't look good for Ricciardo. And as you say, I don't think no matter what he does, it will change anything. Because if he wins, even if it's on merit, I think, well, it's a bit too late for that now, no?
Yeah, I think it is. You can't have one stand-up performance even if it is a victory. I mean, maybe, you never know. But yeah, it's not going to be easy at all for Ricciardo. He seemed very down on Thursday, and it kind of looked like, okay, yeah, sure, he's already lost a seat. But then when we got to Friday, or at the end of Friday, seemed incredibly happy. Whether that's because they are genuinely happy about their performance and it's looking good, or if they're just trying to enjoy their final weekend, I don't know. Whether it will be their final weekend or their final season, they'll just get confirmation that they'll be removed for next season. I don't quite know. But it would still be, up in the air for Perez's seat. Because and although they did perform in Azerbaijan, if they can't perform within the next two races just as well, then maybe Ricciardo will just get the call up to go to Red Bull immediately anyway, if they can at least get the car into the points, which they might be able to do. But it seems like Liam Lawson and Ricciardo, they both had good runs in their initial testing in the Red Bull car, but when they got into 2 other runs, other test runs, they never really reached a benchmark time and had maybe not so good pace compared to Max Verstappen. So maybe they're not going to be quite so fit to the job, whereas Perez has got a lot of experience in that car and has raced the car the entire season so far. As he crosses the line, and he only goes P15, so not an ideal situation of these closing stages where everybody are now going out on the soft tyres if they're not already out. We've got 4 minutes on the clock. Zingy, who's taken pole position? I will go first. I reckon it's gonna be Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc. Very boring.
That was my prediction.
we can have the same prediction. It's up to you.
So Lando Oscar. I'll say. Yeah, it's the only obvious answer. There's nothing else. Like Lando, McLaren look quicker on this track now than Ferrari, and Charles Leclerc's probably the best out of everyone else in the field. So even if he's complaining about no grip, I think he'll be fine. So yeah, we'll have the same predictions, and if we both mess up, we'll both look stupid together. So it doesn't matter, Aaron.
Yeah, that's all good. We'll tank it. We'll absolutely tank it. All right, that's other cars going across the line. It's Charles Leclerc getting weighed on the bridge, unless they've already been weighed. They're trying to make some slight adjustments, but they're not bringing the car into the pit lane. They want to go out again immediately. So that's what we saw yesterday from Lando Norris as they went in for a damage check, but they didn't actually put the car on any kind of jacks or anything. They literally just pulled up outside the garage, double checked it, had a look, and then went out immediately. So we will see the Ferrari go out again shortly for a run, as Leclerc is already on his way out immediately. That is Verstappen going very, very wide on the exit of, that was, I can't quite remember, was that turn 9 or turn 7? Anyway, they were going very, very wide. They now go through the next few corners and still continue to send it. They are on a currently scrub set of soft tyres, but they are very fresh. 4 laps old.
Yeah, you were mentioning earlier on that a scrub set of tyres do get into the track better. I think, you know, the initial like shininess of the new tyres. I think you were talking about biting into the track, and I think once the tyres are rubbed in a little bit, they're kind of used to the surface, and that's why they bite in. So they're more adjusted to it, because this is a street circuit, remember. So you'd probably get the same around Monaco. I can't think of any street circuits right now. Monaco, Australia, and stuff like that. So it makes sense. You want to get that tyre rubbered in, and around more like smoother tracks, you want that shiny. You just want the most newness as possible, because that's what's actually good for the tyre around those types of tracks. So, oh goodness me, Max Verstappen going across the curb once again. He's been struggling around that specific corner. And do you reckon if someone gets it completely wrong, they're going to end up on the ball there?
Yeah, it's a curb that will spit you out. He's managed to keep it in a straight line just about, but you could see he was wrestling that car to the limit. But yeah, well held from the Dutchman. May have got a bit of damage on that underfloor, so got to be careful, and they're definitely going to be double checking that one. I reckon the Williams of Colapinto is getting ready to go out for their final time. That being said, they don't have time to go out again, so I think they are literally just kind of sat with the car at the moment. I don't see why they aren't really just going out, or packing up. That being said, I think what they're doing is just waiting to go out for a practice start, so they're just going to go out at the latest possible moment so they can cross the line and then go again for that practice start, to give Colapinto a little bit more knowledge of the car, especially around this circuit that is very slippy. But now these cars do start to set their final lap times of the session with less than a minute on the clock and almost everyone out on track. We've got Hamilton, Colapinto, Norris in the pit lane. Piastri is on their way out, but I don't think they'll get around in time to do another lap. So Oscar Piastri will just be doing a practice start as well. They are on a scrub set of mediums, so that would maybe suggest actually Norris as well. Norris, Russell, Piastri maybe going to be starting the Grand Prix on mediums. That's why they're going for this practice start situation.
Yeah, just we're doing the last qualifying runs now, but you must remember you can't go full pelt on this lap. 'Cause if you hit into the wall, we've only got it's 1 o'clock our time, right? That the qualifying starts at 2 o'clock. I can't remember exactly.
2 o'clock,
2 o'clock.
I believe.
Yeah, and if you just hit the car into the wall, that's gonna be a hefty repair job. So I don't think we'll improvements, but I don't think we'll see any phenomenal lap times like we did from Lando Norris earlier on in the session. See Charles Leclerc again struggling with the car. If they've set it up more for like the race conditions, I think Charles will be fine, but there's just no grip at all for him in that track. Sainz 1.3 down as well in the middle sector. Leclerc backs off. So yeah, not many people improving. I think they're just going through to do practice starts and just get their final runs in. So I don't think this is anything meaningful.
Yeah, for sure. Here we go. As everyone starts to cross the line now and finish up the session, Lando Norris currently on top. Piastri will not get another run, so they are just going to be crossing the line to do a practice start ready for tomorrow. And I reckon, looking at the situation, they're going to be starting the Grand Prix on a medium tyre. Of course, it depends on where they qualify. In the end, we got Zhou across the line. We got Ocon. They did set an improvement lap most recently, but it looks like all the sector times are currently yellow, and we won't see anybody actually improving. Although everyone is out on track to do these final practice starts, no one will be improving. So this is going to be the lineup for sure. We've got a comment in the chat. I need Zingy to do a hot lap around Singapore. I need a GP setup. Oh well. I will see if I can help you for the setup later on. I will be doing some testing myself, so we can get you a setup regardless of the hot lap or not. So don't worry about that. Anyway, that's been that. Everyone crosses the line, and it is going to be practice starts for everyone to finish off the session before we get ready for qualifying later on. 2 p.m. BST, that is 3 p.m. CEST. I believe that's about, isn't it 9 o'clock local time as well. So it's going to be nice and late and into the night. We're going to see some great spectacular camera shots as well, and everybody pushing it to the absolute limit. Hopefully we won't see Lance Stroll into the wall as we did last year. And we can have a nice clean session without any red flags. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you later on for qualifying.